going to go over the rest of those ocean floor notes, and we're also going to go over the ocean floor flat books. So pay close attention, take the notes down as I get them down on my paper. You're going to copy them down on your paper. So when you come back to school next week, your notebook should look exactly like my notebook. All right, so let's get started. All right, so now that we have filled in our notebook page, fill in the blank notes, we are going to fill in this flat book here, and we are going to start with the first layer, of course, the continental shelf, because that is what's on top. So I'm going to put a 1 right there because that is what's first, and then I'm going to put a 2 on the continental slope because that is what comes next, and I'm going to put a 3 on the continental rise because that is what comes after that. Okay, so I've got my first continental shelf, continental slope, continental rise, then my abyssal plain comes after that. And I'm not going to number this one because ocean trenches don't always necessarily go in an order, but they do occasionally occur. So I'm just not going to number this one, but I am going to number the rest of them. The continental shelf is first, then the slope, then the rise, then the abyssal plain. So before I even get underneath the flaps, I am going to just highlight some important words. So shelf is first, then after that is slope, then after that is rise. All right, then I'm going to highlight the word abyssal, because we're going to describe what that word specifically means. And then I'm also going to highlight this word right here, trench. Okay, so I've gotten all my important words highlighted. This is pretty flat, and it is at the beach. So I'm just putting some keywords on top before I go underneath. The continental slope, remember, is very, very steep. It is a plunge. I'm just going to make little bullet points here. The continental rise is a gentle slope. So that means not very steep. Okay, this word right here, abyss. It is a piece of the word abyssal. That actually means flat and unknown. Okay, if something vanishes into the abyss, it vanishes into the unknown. And then for trench, it is like a canyon. Remember in the last video, I told you that a canyon, I'm going to insert a picture of the Grand Canyon right here. So looking at that picture, you saw what the Grand Canyon was. It was like a big hunk had been taken out of the land. Well, there are canyons underneath the water. We just can't see them. All right, so let's talk about the continental shelf first. So you learned last time the continental shelf. I'm going to fold back my flap here. All right, the continental shelf. I'm making bullet points again. It begins at the shore. Begins at shore. Okay, second thing, it is shallow. And the next thing is, it is at the beach. It begins right at the shoreline, right at where the beach is. All right, so if you need to pause the video to get that stuff down, go ahead and pause it, but I'm just going to keep on moving. The next is the continental slope. So I'm going to fold that flat back. Okay, the continental slope. It begins at the edge of the shelf. It is a steep plunge. And I draw a little arrow here to help my brain remember that steep plunge is just a very sharp drop off. Okay, that's all you have to know for that one. Let's move on to the rise. Now, here's what's weird about the rise. It's called the continental rise, but nothing actually rises in the continental rise. The rise still continues to bring the ocean floor down, which is weird to me that it's called the continental rise, but I think the only reason it's called the continental rise is because it's not as steep as the continental slope. So let's fold the rise back. The continental rise, let's see, where did my pen go? Here we go. It begins at edge of slope. Begins at the edge of the slope. It is a gentle slope. So it's not a sharp drop off, it is just gradually going down. Notice how last time with the slope I did a sharp arrow straight down, but with the rise it's just kind of gradual. Okay, so that's all you need to know for that. Okay, so these are the ocean floor features that are near the continents, that are actually close to the land, close to the beach. These, however, ocean floor features are the ones that are in the deep ocean. So I want you to make that stand out, the deep ocean. Okay, that means it's out to more towards the middle of the sea. Okay, so the abyssal plain, let's see here. I accidentally taped it down. You don't need that. It's taped down from when I had it up on the board earlier today. So, the abyssal plain. Let's fold back the abyssal plain flap. Okay, the abyssal plain. It is the bottom of the ocean floor. When you think the bottom of the ocean, what you're thinking of flat, nothing there, unknown is the abyssal plain. There's a whole lot of nothing down there. So it has remains of dead things. Because remember, when things die, they sink to the bottom and they just lay there and they decompose. The most important thing that you need to know, which is why I'm writing it in all caps, is that it is extremely, extremely flat. And the next thing is that it sometimes has seamounts. And remember, seamounts are like mountains under the sea. So I'm going to draw my abyssal plain, my really flat nothing, but then all of a sudden, look, there's a seamount, and then back to the abyssal plain, the flat again. All right. So yeah, it does go out of my flap a little bit, but that's okay. And lastly, we have ocean trenches. Remember, I told you that the trench was kind of like the Grand Canyon. I showed you that picture of the Grand Canyon from earlier. So, it is a deep, and I'm underlining the word deep because it is like extra deep. It is a deep cut in the earth surface. And you really need to know that the largest one is called Marianas Trench. And you need to know that it is 36,198 feet deep. And look, I'm putting it in parentheses. You've seen those before in math. So that is what you need to know about ocean trenches. So we've gotten all of the pieces filled in. You know what all of the parts are of the ocean floor. So now it should make a little bit more sense to you when I talk about the ocean floor having different parts to them. So I'm going to be checking to make sure that your flat books look just like mine whenever you get to school next week, and I will take it for a grade. So be sure if you need to go back in the video and play it again or pause it, that is perfectly fine. Thank you for listening and following along.